Hello to all you vacation rental pioneers out there. My name's Matt Landau, and this is Unlocked, the podcast series that introduces you to the world's leading vacation rental innovators by diving deep into one single key, one specific best practice or technique that opened the door and changed the game.
Jeremiah Gall is a vacation rental pioneer. He was one of the founders of the listing site FlipKey, which was eventually sold to TripAdvisor. And not wanting to leave the industry, his latest brainchild is Breezeway, which is an app that allows hosts to optimize operations of their vacation rental business. After my presentation in Phoenix, Arizona at the Streamline Summit, I got the chance to challenge Jeremiah with a pointed question that I'd always sort of dreamed of asking a listing site executive. True to form, his answer flipped the next steps. And where do we go from here? Back on me. Here's me and Jeremiah.
My name's Matt Landau, and this is Unlocked. You like how I all of a sudden get into formal podcast mode?
I can feel it.
I can feel it too, although I did also just drink a whiskey.
That's good. Well, you talk about where you are while this is happening.
Yeah,
so closing down the Streamline conference.
That's actually a great idea. It gives people some context, and this is the first time we've met as well. So for those who are tuning in, we are in Scottsdale, Arizona, on the final evening of the Streamline Summit, which was a great event, as it always is. Especially nice to meet industry professionals. You and I have been emailing back since we were children, feels like.
I know, it's probably about 10 years ago.
I think very early on in this early venture of yours, I reached out and asked about some sort of blogging cross-promotion or something. Do you remember?
I think that's right. I believe you were still in Panama City. I mean, you were in Panama, not Panama City. Big difference.
Not Panama City, Florida.
That's right. And I think it was cross-promotion on the blog. And I think we might have done a couple of things.
And you were doing something pretty special back then, too.
I was, yep.
What were you doing?
I was the founder of FlipKey. We were building a marketplace for listings. The linchpin was listing reputation. Property managers and owners didn't have a lot of brand recognition. At the time when we started it, people would put up air quote testimonials on their website about how awesome their properties were, but there was no verification. There was no system and record, and it was tough to build that brand. And guest reviews didn't exist on any of the main booking sites. They weren't on TripAdvisor. They weren't on Expedia. In fact, vacation rentals were not on any of those sites either.
Yeah, I remember.
And so we built some tools to help people do that and then bring in more travelers.
And so were you really just connecting the host with the traveler and handing them off and wishing them farewell? It was solely a connecting device at that time, right?
It was, yes. We were truly an easygoing marketplace.
Was that easy to do or hard?
That was hard.
Otherwise, many people would have been doing it.
It's just when you're building a business like that, there's a big chicken and egg problem for building a consumer product, attracting enough visitors, bringing in enough travelers. It's not an easy thing to do. As you know, the travel landscape's highly competitive. So building one of those businesses is tough.
And did you had some pretty good timing.
We did.
You were like, I was going to say you were on the wave, but you were just before the wave, like.
Yeah.
Could you have messed up a bunch and still succeeded?
I don't know if that's possible with any, maybe a little bit. Some is a little bit of luck of timing. I think all startups and business ventures make some mistakes and you still find a way to succeed. You just have to, you persevere, go through some twists and turns. We were pretty early. We were also very naive. And sometimes it's nice to not know what you don't know.
Ignorance is bliss.
When you're starting one of these things. But we were sandwiched very similar to when we got started. HomeAway raised $500 million, started their roll-up, bought VRBO and the top listing sites. It seems like ancient history now, but that was all really going on at the same time. Airbnb was fooling around with what they were doing with air mattresses and just getting rolling. And then their rocket ship just really started to take off on the urban landscape. But all of it was pretty new at that time.
So that was what a lot of people refer to as the good old days, especially in marketing, which is synonymous for we don't really have to do anything. You just pay one of these companies a couple $100 a month and they fill up your vacation rental for you for the year.
Sure.
That was lovely. That was great. I was riding that wave too. I guess the industry evolved and people got smarter and started learning stuff. And that was kind of when I pivoted into my educational role in this industry beyond just managing properties, and put together a framework that's called listing site independence, LSI. And it's a phrase that I use every other article on my blog. It's a phrase that all of the people who subscribe to VRMB know and love. And the very high level overview for those who are listening and don't know what it is it's a very simple sequential 4-stage framework, which is to say you must start at stage 1, which is called give it a go, using all the listing sites at your disposal to generate inquiries, because listing sites generate the best money return on your investment. Moving into building a strong foundation, which is creating a name and a brand for your business. Then you build into the framework, which is a website and the email marketing. And lastly, stage 4 is search engine optimization and PR and some more advanced things. The beauty of this framework is that you can identify in which stage you currently are, and you can then identify in which stage you would like to go. This idea, listing site independence, what does someone who created one of the first listing sites think of that phrase?
Yeah, I agree with it. I think what's nice about the framework, as you describe it as well, is it really grows with your business, in that you can't really get to stage 4. You could, but you'd really be putting the cart before the horse. If you're a small operator, you've got 1 or 2 properties, and you're trying to jump straight to search engine optimization. It's really impractical, and you're going to bang your head against the wall. But many, you and I both know, most of the property managers we meet in this business, they got started, either they were born into it, their parents were already running a vacation rental management company, or they started with 1 property, they started with 1 or 2, and they just grew organically. And they grew and they grew and they loved it, and they continued to add properties. So what I like about the framework is it really grows with you, because that's sort of organically how most of these companies have grown.
And what about this word independence? Is it realistic to think that single property owners and property managers can be entirely independent of the listing sites, or does that word need a little bit of rethinking?
I think it needs a little calibration. I think independence is relative. The cart, the train has left the station as far as marketing for vacation rentals goes. It's very difficult to compete. You have to have a cooperative relationship with the largest marketing and listing services in the world. They have billions of dollars at their disposal. They're very good at what they do. And they've built up a brand and traveler recognition. Really difficult, no matter how big of a property management company you are, whether you have 1 or 1,000 listings, to compete with that.
But
full independence, tough.
What happens when that starts compromising the health of your business?
Well, I think that's relative, right? I mean, they give and take a little bit, right? They do take. It does compromise your business, but it comes with these benefits. I do sympathize, having started one, it takes a lot of marketing dollars to bring in travelers and to build up that brand. And there's a shopping experience on an OTA or on a big listing site that travelers prefer. They want to see choice. They want to be able to compare. They want to see multiple providers. So it's a real service, but it costs money to do that. And it's going to cost the people who list, it's going to cost the individual hosts and managers to be on there. It is symbiotic to a point. It becomes non-symbiotic, it becomes detrimental when a supermajority of your traffic, supermajority of your bookings are coming through very few channels. You feel really beholden to them all of a sudden. And so I think that's the calibration for independence. We can squabble about what the healthy amount is, whether it's 20, 30, 40%, maybe even 50%, depending on, I think in particular, depending on where you are in that stage, right? At the initial stage, you're 100% coming from the top channels.
Direct bookings.
No direct bookings. You're new. You don't have a presence. And I'd be very interested. I think it's be interesting to see how those numbers change as you work through and what your real goal at stage 4 is. Is your goal 0? I think that's unrealistic. Is your goal 25, 30? Sounds great. Sounds healthy.
I'd like to take a quick moment to share a little vignette that I keep coming back to. And it's the vacation rental movement like a parade that's coming through town. As independent owners and managers, we can either jump in and join the action, or we can watch it pass by. And as you can hear from this conversation, joining in on the parade means innovating, adopting new technology, and doing things that haven't been done before. This podcast would not be possible without the support of Point Central, a company that epitomizes innovation. Their property automation services like smart locks and smart thermostats allow us to focus on the highest value jobs, in the process delivering a more seamless experience to the people that we work with. Head over to pointcentral.com/VRMB to learn more. That's pointcentral.com/VRMB. Thanks to the Point Central team for their leading role in our proud vacation rental parade. Now let's get back to the show.
And will the listing site landscape change dramatically in the next few years, as much or more than it has in the last couple of years?
It's one of the best sessions, I think, here at the Streamline Summit was one of the opening sessions with Jeff Evans talking about kinetic landscapes. I think vacation rentals is a kinetic landscape. The listing side part of it feels fairly locked up. I don't think we'll see a sneaky Airbnb 2 pop up out of nowhere and have this massive presence. It's just incredibly difficult to build that audience. That said, I think there will be listing sites that start to emerge over the next 5 years that don't exist now, that cater to very niche traveler demographics.
Yeah, like pet-friendly,
kid-friendly, luxury, real bullish on the luxury listing site model, or very unique, high quality. I had barbecue with Carl Shepard about a year ago, and we both got a good laugh about the fact that, like, unbelievably, you could probably start a new listing site now, and in a couple of years it'd be very successful.
a niche listing site.
A niche listing site.
Right. Which
Yeah.
you probably could never have done 15 years ago.
No, it'd be impossible, right?
Right?
Yeah, totally
You needed
impossible.
to be broad back then.
100%. That's
It's
right.
funny how that works.
It is.
So does that mean that these new niche listing sites could become another sort of subcomponent of this stage one, meaning no matter how developed you are, using all the channels at your disposal, maybe all of a sudden there's a whole new handful of listing sites or whatever they end up looking like that we should be keeping our eyes out for?
I think that's interesting. I think I might say that part of stage 4 on the SEO side is thinking about how you work locally with other providers in your area to build your own local,
Collective?
quote unquote, if you could see me, air quoted, listing site, which is a collective and just provides a really good shopping experience.
And what would that look like?
That would look like there's an effort in the Northwest from Northwest VRMA Association, where a lot of managers are banding together for just you want to get a vacation rental in Oregon, and from a group of professional managers and hosts who really care about quality. They're all on one site. You can shop, you can cross, you can book.
And
It's
so-
a little mini Google SEO friendly Oregon listing service.
And so when people say, why don't you just create the new listing, the new VRBO? Probably not possible in the way that they're hoping for it, but this new kind of model could indeed get some traction. The
Yeah.
Northwest being a perfect example.
I think that's really good. I mean, it's great. It makes for great SEO. They're the experts. They can do some really interesting content swirling. They're the best at
Content swirling.
content swirling,
What is that?
Matt.
What is that?
Content swirling is that is an offshoot of sort of link building and sharing SEO juice from page to page, swirling it around so that you're sharing some of that SEO benefit.
And the more stuff you've got, the more you can swirl.
Right. That's right.
Okay.
And if you can do that, if you can cross promote that with a number of like-minded people in your collective or in your area, I think you get some real benefit out of that. It's not something you can, I think this concept of independence is a great thing to dig into, and it's probably not something you can totally do on your own.
I'm going to try to, as I do in each of these episodes, summarize very briefly what I just learned for my sake and hopefully for our listeners' sake as a summary. Please let me know if there's anything that I missed. But in founding FlipKey, the times in the vacation rental industry required that you essentially connected a host with a guest and you had done your job. It was great for hosts because it allowed us to, for a very, very low cost, fill our properties very quickly. As the industry grew, as all the listing sites grew, the definition of independence, a relative term, changed. And independence now means more than just not depending on listing sites, but also keeping your eyes open for the new thing as opposed to thinking that you must box everything into what you considered to be the days of old.
I think that's right.
Accurate?
I think that's right. I think it's, I think you need to, part of that independence is, I mean, we didn't talk about this, but repeat guests is the biggest key. Building your brand and building up repeat guests is the biggest key to helping drive that independence, right? You're using the listing sites, you're paying your fees, you're getting new guests, and then you're re-engaging those guests. You're building a connection with them even before you make it the next stage and you have a brand. You've built a connection with them and they're going to come back. Then as you're building your brand, you're doing that just on a little bit more of a professional level, and you're really starting to re-engage them, right? You're emailing them on a regular basis. But it all begins with that like quality experience the first time somebody's with you.
And my favorite part about that is that one property or 40 properties or 100 properties, your challenge is not insurmountable. To get a whole bunch of repeat guests for one property or 10 properties, it's hard, but it's not impossible. And you have really a beautiful opportunity right now using everything at your disposal.
I think that's right. It's not impossible. That ought to be the initial goal.
You want to go get an independent drink outside?
I would love to. I think it's been a long day.
And to close, just a quick reminder of who made this episode possible. It's Point Central, the property automation experts of our industry. Head over to pointcentral.com/VRMB to learn more. And when you use that page, you'll become eligible for free HVAC analytics, which tells managers when the HVAC starts to misbehave before our guests get upset. This also makes property owners happy by taking care of the problem before it becomes too expensive. And if you're feeling cheerful, please also consider writing us a quick review in your podcast app. We read every single one of them, and we pass them along to our esteemed guests. This industry is growing up quickly, my friends. This industry is unlocked.